I wanted to start by talking about just the Mercedes team and its recent dominance. What do you think most accounts for that?
It's very comparable to the business world. Take an Apple, for example. It just has the biggest group of competent people who have been managed by great leaders in the best way possible, who work together well with, of course, big budget and all that. And it just makes the Mercedes team the best team in F1. And it's really, really impressive also to see it from the inside, how it all works and everything. It's extremely high-level stuff.
What was that like for you and the changes you noticed in teams going from Williams to Mercedes?
Yeah, it's a big change because Williams, especially the resources, it just didn't have the resources necessary to really be the best at the time, which is a long time ago. And you always had to make compromises, we can't do everything, we need to choose which development is the most important. And at Mercedes, it's just really, everything can be done. There's never a no. For every little hundredth, every little...
Really?
Yeah, there's no limits, and then that's the big difference, just a massive drive. But also, the amount of competent people, as I said, it's just a massive push, it's unbelievable.
How dependent is a driver on his team's technology and equipment?
Yeah, so our sport is quite unique in that sense. The tennis player, he just depends on his daily form. Whereas with us, we really depend on our machine as well. Without a good machine, we're seeing it with Alonso, for example, who's one of the best drivers out there. And for the last 10 years, he struggled to be in the top 10 because his car is just not good. So we really depend on our car. And then the driver is important as well, but it's really both things come together.
How tough is it to be in a situation years ago where every time you leave the garage, your car's just not strong enough to win?
Yeah, it's difficult because coming through, everybody always has the same car when you're young.
Right.
And I won all those different categories except one of them, but most of them I won all of those. And that got me to F1. And then you get to F1 and suddenly you just can't win because you don't have the good car to win. Well, for most people, when you start off. And that's difficult to come to grips with, to accept, okay, I'm not going to be able to win. I just need to do the best I can with the car that I have and then be patient, and one day I will get the best car and I will be able to win. Take some adjusting.
How do you stay motivated in a situation like that?
Well, because you can still do an awesome job with what you have, and that will be acknowledged by people as well. When you finish 5th with a car that actually should be 15th, you can...
But is that acknowledged by people
at
the time?
Especially with the people close around.
The people who know.
Not the people watching on TV, but in your, the people you're working with in the team and your friends and things like that, definitely.
When you're racing in the car in a Grand Prix, what are you seeing?
What do I see? Well, one of our strengths is that we're very, very quick at taking stuff in because we need to react so quickly. We're going at 200 miles an hour in America, right? 200 mile an hour through the street of Monaco. And there's just so much coming at you, and you need to process really quickly. So I think that's one of our skills. And you don't have one single split second to think about something else, because then you'll crash. So it's absolute focus.
You said that you have to be laser focused and concentrating all the time. Yeah. What are you thinking about?
Well, I have so much input coming that I'm just thinking about all these things that are going on. The breaking point, the this, the that. But I also have to have capacity left to remember what happened in each corner on the previous lap, to be able to do each and every corner better on the following lap. Always going through that process, because it's never the same. Every lap is different.
And how does the ability to process that improve over time?
That's the big difference for me. When I was young, I didn't have much capacity left because I used all my capacity for driving the car fast. But then with experience, now especially in my last year, the driving the car fast used much less capacity. And then I had much more left to think of other stuff, how I can best set up my car, remember what went wrong on the previous lap and do that better the next lap. And also, if you look at our steering wheel, it's like a spaceship control pad. Right. It's just unbelievable. So many switches. And you can use all of those switches to your benefit on the track. because you can really transform the car with them, and you can even do settings for individual corners. And again, that's where the experience really comes in to nail that.
In 2003, you had a reasonably big crash, in Formula 3. To what extent are you ever afraid when driving?
Fear plays a part. Sometimes it doesn't slow me down, but it's definitely there, because there are some, especially on some tracks, there's just some corners where you really think, if something goes wrong now and you go off, it's really going to be painful. So there's a bit of fear.
And you'll think about that while driving? That'll go through your mind?
You could get flashes of those thoughts, but very rarely. It's more before you get in the car.
You said before you're risk averse. How so?
Yeah, I'm not the guy who needs to put his life on the line all the time. Different things. So for me, that's not where the passion is. For me, the passion really comes from the fighting, the battles, driving this high-tech machine on the edge, and trying to be the best out there. That's really where my passion is.
What made you want to become a race car driver in the first place?
It's watching my dad. So my dad was Formula One world champion himself in 1982, and that's really something that I'm very, very proud of, and is very special. That we've been able to achieve the same thing, both of us. And in a second, I'll bring in the trophy from the World Championship. When we both have our name on there, and there's only 30-something other people on there. 2 of those are us, and so that's just an amazing story to share, really.
I think you were sitting around the Christmas table this past Christmas, and what does your mom say? Yeah,
well, it's my mom, my dad, and I. And my mom suddenly stops eating, and she's like, I'm actually sitting here with 2 Formula One world champions. And it's just a funny moment then.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was to mark your dad's final competition. You're on the roof with him. I think you're 10 years old, taking an honorary lap around. And you were quoted somewhere as saying it was that moment that you knew one day you were going to be a professional and successful race car driver. What about that made you have that realization then?
So it was the farewell race for my dad, and 100,000 people on the grandstands, everybody cheering for him, and we were both doing an honorary lap to wave goodbye, and then the whole race weekend as such, just the emotions that are involved in racing, and the fans, the battles with the cars, the machinery, and this man against man. You got to be warriors out there in a race car to win, and it's just fascinating. And so that's where I really started to think, wow, this is what I would like to do myself one day when I'm older. Can't believe that I'm now sitting here as a world champion.
Right. But like, what about that moment then at 10 years old makes you still today realize that was kind of a key moment for you in recognizing this is what you wanted to do when you get older?
No, it's just the moment itself. There, sitting there with my dad doing that farewell lap, and 100,000 people going nuts and cheering at him. It was just very special.
You grew up obviously fortunate, and you made the comment before that I thought was really interesting. You said the challenge with that is, quote, everything after that is a step backwards in your life, so it's a huge ambition to get yourself back to this lifestyle on your own terms.
Yeah, that's true.
How so?
Well, if you look around where we are now, it's really an awesome place and I've been very lucky to grow up here in Monaco, and well, I grew up in a wealthy environment, and it's very difficult to find your way as a young guy to make that sort of money, to be able to afford that sort of lifestyle yourself once you get out of the house. And of course I'm so used to that, and it's not easy then to take a big step back, suddenly live in this tiny studio or something, and
right.
and it's just different, and not go on a great holiday and things like that. And so, yeah, definitely that was a big ambition for me to try and get there soon, that I'll be able to afford that lifestyle myself and then continue living in that in those sort of standards, you know. And yeah, I'm very, very happy that that worked out, of course.
And your mom grew up in Germany after the war.
Yeah.
What do you think your parents taught you about work ethic?
My mom was picking up the cigarettes from the U.S. soldiers where they'd left a little bit, and that was her. She was smoking those because she couldn't afford to buy new cigarettes, you know.
Right.
And both my parents, yeah, they really, I think, brought across those values of being very mindful about money and definitely not, you know, throwing it left and right.
In your early school years, you were apparently treated somewhat badly by classmates.
Yeah.
In what ways?
Just as it is for a lot of people in school. So I was bullied, and it was sometimes a difficult time.
Like, what would they do?
Well, in class, for example, shoot chewing gum through the straws into my hair and things like that, and
which might be funny now, but wasn't.
And then
then.
spitting and you know, and pinning me down and stuff like that. So yeah, sometimes difficult times at school. Yeah.
How did you handle it then?
I just have to stick with it, you know, because in the end, every time you try and get help from grown-ups or something like that, it doesn't work. You just need to find your way yourself and stand up for it and figure it out. And but of course, you know, do speak about it, because if you just hold everything inside, which I made that mistake as well, then it's difficult. Unfortunately, I wasn't as wise to really open up about it, so really kept it inside. And that made it more difficult for sure. But then it was just time got through it, and actually then nowadays those guys that were bullying are some of my best friends.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay. So what changed things?
Just growing up, you know, and it's through those teenager years where some people go a bit nuts, I think, and then with time realize that's not right. And then, and I'm not someone who, I won't harbor, how do you call it when you harbor
ill will
for a long time. Mm-hmm. I'm someone I'm really able to forgive. That's not a problem. And then so, yeah, now we're good friends.
I think at one point, you know, we're considering going to college. If you went to college, would have likely studied aerodynamics, but instead you continue racing. Obviously, that worked out well for you, but how difficult for you was it at the time when you make the decision to continue racing, yet all your friends who you grew up with are leaving to go elsewhere to school?
I did school very normally with them, even though I missed half a week from every week.
Yeah.
Because of racing.
You missed a half a week every week?
Well, I think if you ask them, they will say, yeah, definitely, he was never at school.
Yeah.
But I did do it normally, and I had to do the homework and the exams that they did, you know. So
and you still did?
I always had to catch up, and no, I did really well. It was another challenge for me where I wanted to succeed. And then suddenly they all go to university. And I'm going a completely different direction. Right. It felt very strange at first. So I did feel that I would like to do both, university and racing. But then I realized, no, that's not going to work. Right. No, I took a gap year. Okay. And in that gap year, I won everything in racing. Yeah. So I knew, okay, this racing is going to be a success. So just stick with that.
Tell about the legendary tennis matches you used to have with your dad
that not so
inevitably would end with you crying, regardless of if you won or lost.
Yeah, I was very, very young, and I played a lot of tennis, so I was pretty good at it. And we had these epic battles with my dad always on the tennis court. And yeah, so there was always a bad ending. It didn't matter if I lost, then I was unhappy because I lost, and if I won, I was unhappy because I thought he let me win. So it's just a disaster. There was always a bad ending.
How competitive were the two of you with each other?
Both the same, of course. Both massively competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I have it from my dad, definitely, because my mom, when we're playing golf, she doesn't actually care if the ball goes in or doesn't. So I definitely have the competitiveness from my dad.
And still to this day, that way?
Yeah. But now I see it more, and so I can control it a bit better.
How would you describe the differences in each of your personalities?
My dad and I? Very different. Very different in many ways, and then similar in other ways. My dad is much more emotional and Latin in a way, and I'm more calm and more rational and more thinking about things and taking more time to react.
You said somewhere that your father, who was managing you at the time, there was kind of a blurred line between being a parent and, you know, being a professional partner. How difficult initially was it to navigate that?
Yeah, that's such a big topic and so difficult for everybody watching this as well. You know, how much do you support your child, and do you completely just let him get on with it? And if he goes through phases of being totally lazy and therefore losing great opportunities for the future, do you just, you know, stand back and accept that, or do you give him support to get through that, so that he can have the opportunity to achieve great things afterwards? Very difficult subject. I think I'm very thankful because feeling-wise, my dad nailed it perfectly. So especially through the teenage years, he was really supportive, and even in a way expecting me to do really well. And I could feel that expectation from him, that he expected his son to push and achieve something in life, and that really was a driving force in a way. And then once I got beyond my teenage years and I got to F1, he completely stepped back and let me get on with it, not coming to the races anymore. After we discussed that and agreed that that was the best way to do it, and so.
And what was the hardest part for you of making that decision? Where, you know, here's this guy who's not only your parent but your manager, and just navigating that decision-making process of realizing, hey, I just want you to be my father and not the manager anymore.
The biggest issue is that he is the best manager in the world in my eyes, because and he also managed Formula One world champion Mika Häkkinen.
Right.
And he knows everything, and he's the most competent guy. And suddenly I decided then that the best was not for me not to use that competence and just go it alone and manage myself and make my own deals and my own contracts and my own decisions which way to go. So it's, not that easy, obviously, because I don't have his experience. But I was confident that I could do a really good job, and here I am today, so it worked out well.
What made you decide to go in that direction at the time?
I like to challenge myself also. And I really believe that we need to put ourselves into difficult situations over and over, because that's where we grow as a human being. And I always do that in life, that I really push myself, even if it's very uncomfortable. And this was the same thing. So I really challenged myself and decided, okay, I'm going to do it myself and make my own contracts, my own deals, and worked out well.
I mentioned to you before the taping that we taped an episode with Lewis Hamilton, and he, you know, like you, was managed by his father for a while, and he told me during the taping, you know, how difficult it was for him to recognize that it was time to move on and then make that decision.
Definitely,
to what extent did each of you ever talk about with each other kind of the similarities you went through on that front?
No, we didn't talk about that so much. Just that, no, not at all. But of course, there are probably surely some similarities. But I think we both found our way on that, and it's not comparable at all, two completely different situations. But we both found our way, and but with Lewis also, it's a very, very unique story that when we were 14 years old, we were both racing for the same go-kart team for Mercedes-Benz McLaren at the time, and we're best friends. And we went on holiday to Greece, sat at dinner, and said, imagine if in 15 years' time we're going to be in the best Formula One team together, racing against each other for the championships. And then 15 years later it happens, you know, and that's quite insane. How
much do you think you both believed at that time that it would happen?
I don't think you can believe that as a 14-year-old, because you're in go-karting. Formula One is so far away and so huge. You know, you have the Michael Schumachers at the time dominating that world. That it's not, of course, it can be a dream, but to really believe that you're going to be there, I think difficult.
Right, and speaking of Michael Schumacher, you've obviously been teammates with a couple of the, you know, most talented, most successful, and drivers that have a couple of the strongest personalities as well. But you mentioned being 14 and talking to Lewis about it. I think it was 15 years old. You in go-karting competed against a 32-year-old Michael Schumacher. The best part of that was what?
It was a great experience because especially with Michael also, he's the most successful F1 driver of all time, and by some margin. I mean, what he achieved is insane. And to have him as my teammate for 3 years was a great period, important period in my career. First of all, I was able to learn a lot because the guy, it's obvious why he's 7-time world champion. The dedication, the passion, the attention to detail and everything is phenomenal.
I mean, did you notice a difference between him versus other drivers?
For sure.
You got?
Just everything he does.
Well, like what specifically?
His whole life revolves around going fast on a racetrack, you know, and optimizing every area, even because the team. So it's driving the race car, it's the setting up of the race car, so working well with your engineers, and putting massive effort into that. It's team building, you know, getting the whole team around you and being a driving force to help the team progress so that they're going to be able to build the best car for you. The work with the media, the mind games, trying to get your opponent, push him down with the mind, all these things, and he just did everything to perfection.
Well, speaking of the mind games, tell about him once beating you to the toilet, and then also on another occasion you parking behind him.
There's a lot of stuff going on, yeah. And I mean, yeah, one example is here at the Monaco Grand Prix. There's just one toilet,
right,
in the garage. There's no other way. You can't go anywhere else. And we always we go to the toilet just before getting in the car because we're in the car for such a long time and you can't go in the car.
Right.
And so he got there first, so I was waiting outside, and he knew it was me outside, you know, and so he just took his time forever, you know. He was probably standing there just looking at the mirror, watching his watch, leaving it to the last minute to get out so that he can just about get to the car, but he knows that I'm not going to be able to go to the bathroom anymore. And of course I'm getting more and more stressed outside because I'm like, geez, I'm gonna miss the start of the session.
Right.
And then I had to eventually use a bucket for help. Yeah, so that's just small examples, you know, of stuff that he would do, and but I learned to figure out my way, so it wouldn't get to me in a sense. So that was also one of the learning things.
And then you're in Abu Dhabi, and I think you each have parking spaces next to each other. And first
I got him back on that day.
He's a little bit in your spot, but you aren't 100% sure that he was doing it intentionally.
Then I put the car behind his,
right.
So he was completely locked in,
right.
And I lost the keys by coincidence.
Yeah. Right. So how did he handle that then?
It was a bit of a tense moment, but it was okay.
So, are they, like, at the time, are those moments where you guys are joking with each other, or, like, you guys are consciously trying to get under?
Well, depends. It's more, it's joking, but in an intense level, because you are as well trying to beat the other guy.
So the intent of it is to kind of get the guy a little bit off his game?
Yeah, but for me, it's not in my nature. So for me, it's something I have to work at and then figure my way out.
What do you think you learned from him?
Yeah, all these things, exactly in all those different areas, and really the discipline, determination to just keep going over and over again, and find every little tenth of a second that you can improve in every area, and putting it all together.
What was your reaction when you learned he's retiring and then your childhood friend Lewis Hamilton's going to become your teammate?
I mean, for sure, both were difficult situations for me because they were both world champions. Mm-hmm. And naturally the team will give more focus to the world champion than to someone who has not achieved so much at the time yet, you know. And so each time it was a challenge to stand my ground within the team and to get the necessary respect as well, which I need to achieve something. But both times it worked out well, and I found my way and worked hard at it, and really had the support also from the team. I'm very, very thankful that they always gave me the necessary support, and we could grow together and then end up with winning the championship.
Right, and it's so cool to talk about because obviously it ends with you winning the championship and having a lot of success. But how at that time do you stand your ground, to get what you want with another world champion coming in?
It's just effort. It takes effort to really gel with the team, and grow your position within the team to get their respect. And example is, we had a strategy meeting then just before the race, where both drivers need to be addressed because it's equally important for both of them to nail their races, to get to know what's going on with the strategy. And I would not be addressed at all. It would just be Michael, even though we're sitting next to each other right in front. Because Michael was a god for the guy, so he completely forgot that I was sitting there and just spoke to Michael. And then I would tell him that it's really it's difficult for me, and I would expect from you to give us both the same amount of attention, and that worked out then perfect. So then next time round he that stuck in his mind, and then he did give us both the attention, and that's just one example of how you really try and progress there.
So in comes your childhood friend who you mentioned you vacationed together, would share hotel rooms together. But things are a lot different once you become teammates. Lewis told me in our taping that, friendship with the teammates almost impossible. What do you think led to the kind of friendship starting to fall apart?
It's so much at stake. It's the World Championship in Formula One, which is our childhood dream. And so it's nearly impossible. As long as one doesn't accept to be second and the other guy first, or accept that one is better and the other is worse. So as long as you're both wanting to beat the other guy and thinking that you're better than the other guy, and you can't really be friends because it's so intense. And especially if you're within the same team, it's such a complicated situation because the team, we're driving both for the team, to achieve have great success for Mercedes. But at the same time, we have to think about ourselves and try and beat the other guy.
And it's completely unusual for a team to have two number one drivers.
Very unusual in our sport. Yeah, it's happened a handful of times in the history of the sport in the 75 years that the two guys within the same team are battling each other so intensely for the World Championship year in, year out. Especially on a 3-year run, that's never happened in the sport before.
When the relationship was at its worst or at its lowest point, what did the interaction between the two of you entail?
There wasn't much.
There wasn't?
No, because at times it was really difficult. In Spain, we took each other out and from the lead, both first and second, and had a massive crash. Both went flying off the track. And that's some intense times, and also internally discussing that, very difficult.
So like away from the cameras behind closed doors, when you guys see each other after something like that, what happens?
Well, it's one guy against the other guy, trying to stand his ground within the team, and trying, especially important is to try and keep the support from the team, because if you lose that, you won't be able to succeed. So it's really important to keep the team support.
When the two of you are sitting down together with the team, trying to resolve the issues, what's transpiring in the room in a situation like that?
Well, they try and remind us that we're here for the good of the team. And so we must put aside our ego thinking and remember that in everything we say, especially to the outside, to the media, we're here for the good of the team. And so that's really important. But the team really, they did a good job in the end with managing us, because the most important thing is to remain neutral and whenever possible not to take sides. And they managed to do that quite well, and so in the end, we always came through such difficult moments, and more or less it worked out, and the relationship was okay until the very end.
If you had not retired, what do you think the likelihood is you and Lewis could have coexisted long-term together as teammates?
For sure we could have coexisted, which we have shown for the last 3
Right.
years, that it works. It works really well, because we push each other to such a high level that we all benefit from it. Both of us drivers, the team, so it works really well. Just that you have to accept that there's going to be some very difficult moments.
How did you tell him you were going to retire?
Yeah, it was important for me to tell him personally as well.
How did you do it?
Because of the battle that we've had and everything. And so, no, first of all, I just wrote him a message before the actual announcement, and then afterwards we got together and had a chat about it, and just went through a few stuff, and it was a nice conversation. And I'm open to finding our way, and even having a good relationship again in the future. Why not?
I want to take you back to a moment that kind of seemed like it was the starting point for what was an amazing run that you had, culminating in the championship win, and that's 2015, the U.S. Grand Prix. Yeah. After the race, you're sitting slumped in a chair as Lewis is putting on a red hat with a number 1 embroidered on it. What are you thinking at that point?
One of the regrets I have is that I was never able to win the U.S. Grand Prix.
Really?
And it's one of the very few races that I wasn't able to win. So, but there we go, can't have everything. And yes, that was one of the most difficult moments also in my career then, because I gave Lewis the championship whilst being in the lead, and I made a mistake. And then he got the championship and won it. And it's tough. I mean, defeats in sport are always very difficult to cope with for us, because we put our whole life behind the sport, and then when you lose, it's very it's dark, dark moments, and that was especially difficult, but I'm proud that I managed to push through and always come out with even greater motivation. So it was actually a fuel for me, rather than pulling me down and holding me down. I was always able to come out even stronger with more motivation, and that's what happened again in the US, and it's a big part of why I'm sitting here now as a world champion, that I found motivation that I didn't even know existed for me, to even go new ways and just put everything behind it and push in a massive way.
I mean, what seemed to come from the loss there is just this tear of success that you go on. You win the final 3 races of the season, and then the first 4 races of the next season. What do you think was responsible for that?
Well, it's not. It's really fighting spirit in the end. To not want to experience a loss like that ever again. So just really pushing and putting it all together, and a massive focus. That was the driving force. You
said, quote, "I got more aggressive because too often in the past, he, being Lewis, had walked all over me." What do you think you did differently? He's just very, very skillful. He's in so many areas, and especially also in this one-on-one battle. He would really manage to go to the limit very well without ever going over. So he would always take it to a very extreme, but never in a way that you could blame him, and he would just do that very well. And I would lose many races as a result, and so I just had to ramp up my level of aggressiveness, and it worked out. Because, and how did you do that? It's just a decision that I have to be more aggressive, and but also studying past events. So I would look over and over and all the different events we've had in the past and learn from them and make sure I'm not ever doing the same mistake again. And if I do, then I know what to do. If I am in the same situation, I know what to do better. And that really worked out well. And what's an example of an event you studied, and in what ways did you find yourself then being more aggressive? Well, one problem, of course, was then when you end up with 2 guys who are so aggressive, there's the crash. Right. So that's what happened. But I guess sometimes it's unavoidable. But I think you were spending 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening meditating, in addition to, I believe, something like 5 months off social media, getting extra practice in go-karting. How did you find all of that helped in the championship season?
I looked for new ways to become even better, and there was different things. One of the things was to work very closely with a mental trainer, and to explore the ways of. I don't like the word meditation because people will think it's this transcendent whatever, and it's not. It's really training your concentration and training your awareness. So that's what I did every morning and every evening, and it's all these little things, that massively help in the end. And because the difference between success and defeat in sport can be minute. And let me give you the best example. In the summer, because our driver weight is crucial, because on a race car, we're part of that. And if you can be lighter, you're going to go faster.
Right. And there have been times where you've already been very thin, and the team asks you to drop 5% of your weight.
And so in summer, I realized, okay, I've got all this extra leg muscle from cycling. I need to get rid of that as well. So I stopped cycling, and then after the summer break, I was on pole position in Japan by 1/100th of a second. 1/100th of a second is like 10 centimeters over the course of one lap difference. And 1 kilo of the leg muscles is 300ths of a second per lap, where I'm going to be going quicker. And I was on pole by 1/100th of a second. So that's what gave me pole position. Having pole gives you the race win then, with all likeliness. And the race win gave me the championship, So one could go all the way into those details.
Working with the mental coach, what did you do to train yourself to have better concentration?
Well, for example, that it's the awareness training and concentration training, which it just, in your everyday life, it will calm the intensity of emotions that come also. And also through awareness, you can be aware to when those emotions do come and try and take over, And when you're aware of them, you can sort of interact with them and move on to something else. If you learn, it's all learning, but it's small steps. It takes so long. There's no magic. It's just really working at it. But I think even just the fact of working at it, that's already a benefit. Taking the time for yourself in the morning, in the evening. It's relaxing also in a way. So it's all these little steps that just are a benefit.
So it all came down to the final race of the 2016 season, Abu Dhabi. At the end of that race, either you or Lewis would be the Formula One champion. What are you thinking going into that race?
Oh, it was tough. I mean, I had the whole world of pressure on my shoulders because it was mine to lose in the end. I was ahead on points, and all I had to do was finish second or third. So it's, made it very difficult. I mean, it's my childhood dream, and it's so close. So also there's the fear of losing then, that comes, obviously. And, but, yeah, I mean, I just went through it and made it happen. And
how afraid of losing were you?
Well, because know what defeat felt like in previous years, and if I would have lost this one, it would have been even worse.
Why?
Because it's so close, and because I'm ahead. It's, I'm ahead until just before the very end, and I've been ahead all season. And so it's so real and so tangible and so close. So to then lose it, it's like Hillary Clinton. But I don't want to compare myself to Hillary Clinton, but the situation is similar. Right. She's ahead all the way through.
Right.
And she's the sure winner, and even herself, she thinks she's the sure winner. Just as I did in a way, because for me it must be possible with my car to finish at least third. Should be doable, definitely, because I have the best car.
Did that scare you at all, that you were thinking you were the sure winner?
Well, yeah, that's what makes it more difficult, because it just would make the loss hurt even more, because it's so, you're so close. And so I can really relate to Hillary as well. What a horrible loss that was for her personally also, so tough. My God, really, unbelievable. I mean, really. You don't wish that on anybody.
Did you have any dialogue with Lewis on that race day, Abu Dhabi?
No, we didn't.
None.
There was not much to speak about. It was just everything was on the edge.
And your driver rooms are basically right next to each other, right?
Yeah, right next to each other.
And so what happens when you see each other?
Just walk past.
No acknowledgement?
No, nothing.
Why do you think that was?
Because it's just intensity, and we're doing our thing, and fully focused.
Yeah.
You don't want to give anything away. Also, you don't want to show your nerves.
So Lewis at points during that race was driving considerably slower than during qualifying, in effort to try and win the championship by forcing you behind him to engage in a battle with the other drivers. And I was speaking to somebody close to you who said if the roles were reversed, if you were in Lewis's position, he was in your position, you would not have done that because you, quote, wouldn't have been happy to win a race if he didn't do it 100% fair. Your thoughts on that?
Well, let's not get into what I would have done because it's so hypothetical and it's such an extreme situation. So there's no point. But what he did, we were 4 cars all following each other. He was first, I was second, and I had to finish at least third. So if I do finish fourth and those other 2 cars pass me, my championship is gone. He's the champion. Mm-hmm. So he was trying to back me up. So the other guys get a chance to pass me.
Right.
And he did that very well with all his skill.
Right.
And it made it an incredibly intense end of race, end of season, end of my career. So that was insane. Those last laps. And
I mean, you're somebody. If you're playing table tennis with somebody, and they win a point and they don't see it, you'll stop and tell them they won the point. So I mean, that's kind of why I'm asking roles reversed.
Yeah.
You do the same.
Let's just say it this way: I can understand him. It's the World Championship that we're talking about.
Right.
So, and we're warriors out there, so you're going to try something. Well, he was going to try something. You can't generalize, but I can understand that he wanted to try something.
So with that in mind, with championship on the line, could you see yourself even handling it similarly?
Well, it was not right what he did, because in the end, we're driving according to certain guidelines that are given to us by the team. And I respected those guidelines because in Monaco, we had exactly a similar situation where I was second, he was third, and I was driving too slow, just as he was in Abu Dhabi, and so we were risking a good team result. So the team ordered me to let him pass, and I just did straight away, let him pass, and then he got the race win, which helped him in the championship fight as well, ironically. And so, and it was the same situation in Abu Dhabi, and he didn't abide by those rules, So from a team's perspective, for sure, that was not the right thing to do. But from an individual, I can understand why he wanted to try something.
When you cross the finish line and you are the champion, what are you thinking?
Unbelievable. Emotions, unreal. I mean, everything. First of all, relief, then just sharing it with my wife on the radio. She spoke to me whilst I was still in the car. Sharing it with her, then seeing the fans, everybody cheering, and then coming back sharing it with my team.
Yeah, I know your dad was not at the race, but when you two saw each other after the race, what did you guys say?
Just very emotional, and he was very, very proud of what I managed to achieve, and because he knows how special it is, because he achieved the same feat, so he was very, very proud, and just wonderful to share that moment with him.
You remember what he said?
He was very, of course, the emotions were so intense that he was still stuck in the race, telling me that he couldn't watch because he was sure that Lewis was gonna try and shunt me off or something.
Are you serious? So why retire?
Why retire? Because just following my heart. It's very simple. That's what my heart told me to do. I love a book with a great ending, and this was the most perfect ending that I could ever have hoped for my racing career. And now I look forward to the next chapter, which is going to be just as important and just as special as the previous one, and very, very passionately now already exploring for the next adventure.
Do you think there's anybody close to you that would have ever guessed you would have retired early?
No. Well, what's early?
I mean,
I'm 31.
Right, you're 31. I mean, you just signed a contract, you have time left on the contract, you just won the championship, you're as good of a driver as you've ever been at the height of your career. That's early.
Well, yeah, but then take it from the other side. I've been racing for 21 years.
Right.
In Formula One for 11 years. I've done 210 races, traveled the world doing this Formula One racing, this amazing experience for 11 years. And at the same time, you need to. It's also, you know, racing at the highest level requires a lot of sacrifice as well. That's the only way to do it. That's the only way to be the best you can be and to be the best in the world is by massive sacrifice as well, and throwing everything behind just winning. And it's awesome. There's a time for that, but now it's time for some other stuff.
What sorts of sacrifices do you think you most had to make?
It's a lot of stuff. I mean, first of all, your whole life revolves around winning. Every single day, from morning to evening, is just how can I win? How can I be the best in the sport? And so for sure, family, that's the obvious one. That's a big sacrifice there because just don't see them much. And even when I am there, I'm not really there because my head is in the sport. Really? Yeah.
And do you think your family, your wife would recognize that?
Yeah, she knows it. But it's a decision we take together, you know, that are we happy to do it? And she's a big support always. And she would have been happy to do that for many more years as well. But for them also, it's a lot of sacrifice because they need to stand behind me and help support me all the way, you know. But that's just one thing. Then there's many things. I mean, friends, all these different passions, other passions in life, and a lot of stuff.
How much do you think your wife and daughter influenced the decision, either directly or indirectly?
They are a part of it. A lot of things, you know, add up to that feeling that I had inside of myself, and for sure my wife and daughter are a part of it because I look forward now to spending some more time with them. You know, my daughter is 1.5 years old. She's never going to be 1.5 years old again, and it's a wonderful period now where she's starting to show her love to me also, and I'm going to take more time for them, and that's really nice.
Who was the first person you told you were considering retiring, and
My wife.
when did you tell them?
My wife, 2 days before.
2 days
before announcing.
Okay, so not before your final race.
No, because I didn't want to go into those thoughts
Okay.
at all, because I was so committed to getting the championship. And anyways, it was dependent on winning the championship, because it's completely linked to winning. If I wouldn't have won, I wouldn't ever have thought of stopping, because then I would have passionately continued following, trying to achieve my childhood dream, which is to win the World Championship once. So it's completely linked to that, and then when I did win, then I could start to think about if I would really make the move. Because thinking is one thing, doing it is a whole different ballgame.
So when did the thought first enter your mind about the possibility of retiring?
It was when the championship became a real possibility, a few weeks before, when I had a very big lead in the points.
Mm-hmm. And what did you, just one day?
No, it just came to me. Just came to me, wow, that would feel right, that would feel awesome, to close the book with the most awesome ending. When
you made that final decision to retire, what was the order in which you then started letting people know?
Of highest priority was to tell my team, because I knew that I was putting them into a difficult situation, and that was tough for me to know that. So I told them as soon as I could, immediately actually. Even though for me that was not great, because it became an even bigger thing than actually winning the championship. And I would have loved to have just gone through all the celebrations,
right,
just with that, and then retirement. I could have announced that well afterwards or something, you know, on its own. So for me that wasn't ideal, but of course the most important was to support my team.
So take me to that call you make to the team's executive director, Toto, and what was said minutes after I think you left being on a plane with him.
Yeah, not an easy one, of course.
You wanted to do it in person on the plane, right?
Yeah, but I had 3 hours sleep from all the partying in the last 2 days. I was absolutely knackered. So to approach such a incredibly intense, life-changing discussion, I wasn't willing to do that. So decided, okay, I'll do it on the phone. That's better, easier. So I went for that, and it was a tough one. and especially because he didn't see it coming. So and it put him in a difficult situation as well, which was not good. But I need to think about myself and my people around me first, because I told the reasons.
Okay.
And so his immediate instinctive reaction was understanding. He really could understand and relate, and accepted it, and really accepted it, and was very supportive. And I didn't know, was he going to shout at me on the telephone?
Right. Were you kind of concerned?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's an extreme decision, and I'm really putting them into a difficult spot. And but he really showed great understanding, and that was very nice to see.
What was your reaction when Formula One legend and team executive Niki Lauda comes out and kind of slams the decision and says you made the team look dumb, in his words? For
sure, he did criticize me in the media, which was strange because to me personally, again, he even said, "I'm pulling my hat for you," or how do you say that? You know, I'm saluting you, or with respect for the decision. So personally, he was really understanding, which was very nice. And then in the media, very different. So that was a bit surprising. I think it came out of the shock because he was also just very shocked. And
then
the race team is
the
his baby.
of finding,
you know? The race team is his baby, and I put his baby into a very difficult situation. So naturally, you're gonna have some hard emotions coming out. And but you know, that's fine. That's okay. And he was one of the very few who criticized my move, and that was another very nice thing to see, that the big majority of people were understanding and supportive of my decision, and that was cool to see with hindsight.
How did you tell your dad, and what did he say?
So before the announcement, I was telling a few people, and I told my best friend, or one of my best friends, and he, first of all, there was silence on the phone because he's one of my biggest fans. And one of your friends told me they got a text message from you and thought somebody had hacked your phone. Yeah. And then my friend, first there was silence, and then he says to me, "Geez, now I know what it felt when now I know how my sister felt when the Backstreet Boys broke up." That's what he said to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, that was a tough one. That was a tough one." And then he said, "Don't move, don't do anything, tell me where you are, I'm coming." "I'm coming to see you.
Right.
Don't do anything."
Were people trying to talk you out of it?
So he obviously, and that was then not so easy. And I had my big announcement to make in like 2 hours time, where I needed my complete composure and self-confidence. So
and so he comes,
and the next one would have been speak to my dad, and I was like, no, okay, I'm not doing that part anymore. Who knows what he's going to say? So I left to speaking to my dad afterwards, and I just told my mom to tell him.
Okay. So after the announcement, you speak to your dad. How does the conversation go?
Well, he was also shocked because he's also a massive fan of and has put so much into my racing. So for sure, very, very surprised and shocked in a way, because he didn't see it coming, and he was so looking forward to a few more awesome years. But then very quickly, he came to the point of he's happy if his son is happy, you know, as a parent, and that was what he told me, and that's the most important, and so that was fine.
To what extent, since you made that decision, has any doubt or second guessing come into your head about the decision to retire?
Well, it's not easy. Yeah, my life, I completely changed my life. For as long as I can think, my life has been, you know, racing and trying to win on the racetrack. So it's a complete change. So it's not easy, and it's not going to be only easy, obviously. But I'm feeling great. I'm really, really happy, satisfied, and also I'm just, you know, so content with my career. It's perfect. You know, it's really I've achieved everything that I set out to achieve. It's a great ending where I'll always look back, and I'm going away from it with so much happiness. Also thanks to that ending, you know, and so it's awesome.
How challenging was seeing your old engineers working with your replacement,
Valtteri Bottas? Of course, there's going to be weird moments, and one of the weird moments was because the race team is my racing family, you know, and there's even a team Nico within the race team of all my engineers who are just working to make my car and me win the races.
Right.
And now all of a sudden I see social media, and they're sitting together with the guy that's replacing me, Valtteri Bottas, and all of a sudden it's not Team Nico anymore, it's Team Valtteri, you know, and that was a weird moment for me, definitely.
What, have you guys met yet? I know he requested a meeting?
No, but I'll meet up with him, you know, and especially to support the team, because it will help the team if he's able to integrate better.
What do you want to do in retirement?
There's so many opportunities, and the first thing that comes to me is so much has been given to me in my life. Yeah, the success, my wonderful family, everything. So I'm so thankful, and so my feeling is now I've never had time to really explore the giving back. I always have given back, left, right, and center, but nothing that has really, really been like completely touched my heart. And so now I'm going in a bit of an exploration, and I want to give back in a nice way and find something that really touches my heart, some projects, and so let's see.
And what possibilities have you been thinking about?
Well, mainly I would like to give back to children, for example, but kids where really when I walk in, I make their day, you know, and it's an incredible power to have. It's so lucky that I can just with my presence make a kid happy who's maybe suffering. I mean, not many people can do that, you know, and it's just amazing. So I wanna do that in next time, and just really simple, just visiting and visiting some children who are in difficult situations, and I did that actually recently as well. Yeah, it's nice to see that I can make them forget their misery for a while, and especially now being a father of a little daughter, it makes it all the more intense because I can relate, you know, with the situation that the family is in as well. Because to imagine that my daughter would not be well, that would be unbelievably tough. So that's the sort of direction I'm exploring now.
And I've read everything from you wanting to ski to put on some muscle to, you know, work with young drivers to do more in investing. Anything else that kind of piques your interest beyond
there are
what you
so
mentioned?
many opportunities out there, you know, and I want to make a difference, and find something. I need a challenge because I need to get that adrenaline that I had in racing. So I need a challenge to achieve something, and I'll find something cool.
It's a fascinating story, and with one chapter closing, another one opening, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.